welcome to my channel, Stray Cat Cast, and another episode of Cat Reacts. Now, in the news, I've been hearing a lot about the president wanting to bring back slavery, and in a new form, right? Instead of what you would typically attribute to slavery, bringing it to a new form via the ICE actions and the mass either deportation or holding without recourse many immigrants, undocumented immigrants. And I want to play a few different creators that shared on TikTok, and then I'm going to talk about them after I play each individual one, because I'm going to have some feedback, and waiting till the end I find that I'm not going to be as thorough. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do like the content, please consider subscribing to my channel, because I am trying to grow this and make this into something that not only talks about relevant events right now, but celebrates humanity and what we can do to counteract all of the negativity that's happening, and make it a little bit more of a blissful existence, if that's even possible. So yeah, so let's get right to it, and then we'll talk in just a moment.
Responsibility for the people that they hire, and let them have responsibility, because we can't put the farms out of business.
You can stay in this country, but only if a rich white man says you're useful to him. We've done this before. It was called the Bracero program, and it exploited millions of Mexican workers. Before that, it was called indentured servitude. Before that, slavery. Trump's plan lets undocumented workers stay, but only if a farmer signs off on them. If not, deported. The farmer messes up, deportation. No rights, no protection, just a leash.
We've had people that have worked on farms for 20 years. It's very hard to go in there and say, you know, you're coming out. But we're going to let the farmers take responsibility. They're great people. They'll do it. They know the good and the bad.
He's not praising them. He's objectifying them. He likes that they work hard and stay quiet. Workers tied to one boss, no freedom to leave, and no pathway to citizenship. A terrified labor force, completely dependent on their employers who profit off of them. He's not fixing anything. He's codifying exploitation. This is about power, control, cheap labor. If you're okay with this, you're okay with slavery. Trump.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Oops, I didn't pause it. Hold on. Okay, let's talk about that, because there's two different things. She mentions indentured servitude, and there's a awesome documentary that I will try and get the link to down in the description that discusses the kind of like the invention of whiteness and how that came into being, and where it had slaves that were brought over that were working in tandem with indentured servants, and they started to unify to go against slave masters. And when they did, the slave masters came up with this idea of the indentured servants being let out of their, like, whatever their obligation is, and making it where you're better, even though you guys were working in tandem together, you're better than they are because of your skin color. And so they would do that, give them land, actually made it where they would own, they could buy slaves, they would own slaves, and then it's like they became elevated. And they became elevated because they saw this as, the slave owners saw this as an opportunity to separate these people that were causing them a problem, and making it where, and it goes on today, people think, they see skin color and they automatically think they're better. No matter what their education, no matter what their personality, no matter what they give to the world, they think they're better simply by the color of their skin. Even if they are having harder times than someone that looks like them, that has a darker skin color, that has a little melanin, they think they're better just because of their race. And they will say, well, my grandfather would have owned you, or my ancestors would have owned you, you know. They want to bring that back because they want to feel better. And that is not just people that are Caucasian, that are white, that think that. There are people that are Hispanic. There are people that have some hue to their skin color, that are darker, that think they're better than African Americans or black citizens, people, just because of their skin color. So they separated. I'm going to send you the link, and hopefully I described it correctly. But they basically said, hey, we're going to remove you from the service. We're going to give you land. And now you can actually own a few slaves and feel better. And so they would see someone that they knew probably, and they'd be like, I'm out, because, I'm this color. So, I'm just a little bit better than you. Just a little bit better than you. So it's really, really, really interesting. But another thing that I wanted to say is that when they say that slavery, it's being brought back, it never left. I'm also going to do a link to the 13th Amendment. It's a documentary that I watched where they were discussing the fact that slave owners, when there was the Emancipation Proclamation and slaves were let, and it was like 4 million slaves or something like that. Or was it 40 million? I'll put a little thing on my screen. But when they were released from slavery, these slave owners are like, what are we going to do? Because now they do not have these people to work their fields. So, 13th Amendment okays, you have no freedoms, or your freedoms can't be taken away from you unless you are incarcerated or accused of a crime. Once you are locked up, your freedoms go away. So what they did is they did mass arrests. They picked up black men for stupid reasons, ridiculous reasons, or for no reason, and they ended up incarcerating them and made them work the fields. So slavery didn't go away. It just became the for-profit prison system. So once people say that's coming back, pay attention, people, because it never left. Never. Okay, let's keep going.
Slaves. I used to work for Vice documentary and HBO, and Vice did a documentary on Trump owning slaves in Dubai. The documentary is called Trump in Dubai and Africa and China. The journalist is Ben Anderson, and you can find it for free on YouTube right now. And I think that documentary is extremely relevant right now, as we just heard Trump say that, maybe for immigrants, what can happen is that their owners can take responsibility of them if they work on farms or in hotels or just in different industries. I already made a TikTok about this, and it got taken down at 5 or 6 million views because TikTok is a coward. But I wanted to bring it up again, one, because somebody asked, and two, because I think it's important. So what happened in Dubai is something that is not uncommon that happens in Dubai, is where a contractor puts a call out to other countries to have immigrants come migrate to Dubai, and they take their passports, and they shove them basically in a cell. There's not enough beds per person. They have to sleep in shifts, one, because they have to work too much, and two, because there's no room, toilets overflow, they have no water, they have no food. And what they do is they say, sure, you can leave if you pay to get your passport back. The thing is, they also have to pay daily rent, and their daily wages are less than their daily rent, thus putting them in debt, into servitude, and they get stuck. The issue here is that Trump was well aware that it happened. It talks about it in the documentary, but also Vice journalists wrote about it. They went to Dubai to confront Donald Trump, and he definitely was more aware. You can find and read about that. But maybe even more scary, he has done it over and over and over, and he's done it in America. It is how he built his hotels. He so much as got sued for this. He did it to people in Poland, brought them over, said he was going to pay them $1 a day or something like that. Didn't even pay them that. They finished all of their work, and he basically kept them stuck, and somehow they managed to sue. But again, you could read more up on that. This is not singular to him as well. His dad did it, and his dad's dad did it. It's in the family. And this is a really big problem to a country that is built on slavery and upholding that slavery, because it didn't just end when slavery ended. It went to Jim Crow, went to sharecropping, and the final stage has been prisons. But now that prison system isn't working, so we're creating a new one, just like we have done over and over and over in this country. And our Constitution protects it. If you can make somebody a criminal, then you can make them work. So if we have a president right now who literally got rich, his family got rich over doing this to people, obviously he's going to implement that into our day-to-day. This is the goal, okay? This is the goal of everything. This is the goal of Alligator Alcatraz. This is the goal of ICE. It is to make a new form of free labor. And it's not just going to end at Alligator Alcatraz. It's going to spread. It's going to be on personal farms, private hotels, private manufacturers. They're going to send criminals there, and they're going to perform work, and the cycle continues. We don't need to guess. We don't need to be conspiracy theorists, okay? We have a whole documentary that talks about it, and I recommend that you go watch it.
Okay, we're going to have to check this out because it seems like it's worthwhile to check out this. I'll see if I can find the link for it to add it down in the description. It's very interesting that she talks about all the different forms of taking away people's rights to make it where they can be free or reduced wages that obviously aren't living wages, right? They're not living wages by no means. And taking away people's passports and things like that. That is super, super, super scary, but it doesn't surprise me. And when people talk about how successful this man is, he's gone bankrupt so many times, but was bailed out. Most people aren't bailed out when they go bankrupt. They're ruined. So they're saying he's successful. Was a mirage. Now he's using the presidency as his own social media marketing growth marketing company. He's using his position to just enrich himself and his family, and it's ridiculous because the office holds no value anymore because of what he's doing. But I was just talking about I wanted to go back to the whole farmer thing, and it's funny because there must have been something that happened because they were taking all these workers from farms, and the owners are they're on the people that most likely voted for him, and they're on there crying about how they lost all of their employees, and they didn't think that this was going to happen. They thought he was going to make things better for them, but instead he took 3/4 of their workforce, half of their workforce, half of their painting company employees, whatever, and they're crying about it. So now they're probably okay, let's step back. Let's do this. This is what our plan is. Actually, we want to make it where these people are so desperate, they don't want to be picked up by ICE, and they're so desperate to not be sent to somewhere that could kill them or being locked up at these modern day Alcatraz facilities. And somebody brought up some interesting information. I'm going to see if there's one of the videos that'll bring it up about these places that are being outfitted, because he's not planning on deporting all of them. He's going to get concrete plantations. I don't know if this is going to play over again, y'all. I'm figuring this out, so don't come at me. Okay, hold on. Let's see if it keeps going.
Trump, by arguing last week on this show, a guest shocked the table by arguing in part that slavery in America can't just be blamed on one race, and that museums put too much focus on the role of white people who participated in that terrible institution. And now tonight, that same argument is being pushed by the President of the United States. Donald Trump says that one of the reasons for his crackdown on Smithsonian museums is, quote, everything discussed is how bad slavery was. What we try to do on this program is create a platform for discussion and debate that reflects the very real differences that exist in this country. It's what echo chambers in our society fail to do, frankly. But on this topic, it's important to say objectively, slavery was indeed bad. It was evil, the nation's original sin. And it is impossible to understand the true history of this country without fully grappling with slavery's impact. Simply because of their birthplace and the color of their skin, the bodies and spirits of black men, women, and children were exploited for profit and power. They were forced onto ships, bound by shackles and collars that ripped off their skin. One older man described it as iron entering our souls. Some chose to jump into the waters infested with sharks rather than feel that iron. Now, once they arrived on this very soil, they were forced to work by way of the whip, despite being starved, sleep-deprived, threatened, tortured, physically and psychologically. They were auctioned off, humiliated, fearful, and separated from their families and their children. Black women and girls were raped and sexually assaulted. Many were brutally murdered and mutilated. Now, this endured for decades, centuries. And even in the places where slavery was not legal, institutions from our banks to universities were built on enslaved labor in both the North and in the South. And for many of the white Americans who did not personally own slaves, they benefited from a caste system that concentrated wealth and political power in their hands. So, when we acknowledge the existence of black people who operated George Washington's Mount Vernon or the black hands that built the White House, we are acknowledging the existence, the perseverance, and the contributions of the souls that white supremacy sought to erase. Those people built families, they developed a culture, they were the keepers of the faith, cultivators of community. And they are the ones who deserve credit for forcing America to rid itself of the stain of slavery. Now, all of this information, these stories are from the Smithsonian's African American History Museum. And I share this not as a lecture for you, but as a lesson. America, the superpower, is largely possible only because of the superpowers of people who went lifetimes without the same rights of generations who were boosted from their backs. True history should include everything. Yes, the evils and the horrors too. And museums are supposed to be places that protect those stories, the images, the lessons, the very things that inform so much of our current state of our republic, from racism to poverty. No matter how painful, or in the president's words, how horrible the lesson. Now, just listen to one formerly enslaved man describe what slavery is like in his own words.
You know what I'd rather do? If I thought that I'd ever be a slave again, I'd take a gun and just end it all right away. Because you're nothing but a dog. You're not a thing but a dog.
So,
Okay. So much about this maddens me, upsets me, infuriates me, makes me incredibly sad. Think about, now I studied African American history, okay, when I was with a little bit higher education. Okay, so finding facts that my teacher was like, whoa, where did you find this? Because I like to do my research. And I just think about a human being seeing someone on land, and thinking, I would like to have that person as my slave. I would like to kidnap that person and make them do whatever in the HE hockey sticks I want. Make them take more white-sounding names when they didn't speak the language. White-sounding names, and they're heathens. With the actual facts being Africa actually being in, like, thriving during those times. And all of the, inventions and headway that they made with currency and things like that. Yes, there were, I'm sure, people that didn't think this way, that didn't want to own slaves. But if you look at the history of the country, the people that did not subscribe to the plantation business model were not as successful. The plantation owners became uber wealthy, and it pisses me off to see people having weddings on plantations. The history of a plantation means somebody that had family, that had community, while in Africa was stolen from that family, brought to a place that they did not know the language, did not know the people, took away their sense of history and where they come from. So many Black Americans are detached from their history coming from Africa, and it separated people. They kidnapped. I am sure they kidnapped people that were related, stacked them up in ships. Maybe both of them died on the way, thrown overboard once they die. If they made it, separated, sold, when you don't even know what these people are saying, sold, shackled. If you dare to say anything, whipped, sexually assaulted. I just cannot. I really don't think I would survive. I would not be able to take that. But to see them, these people go through, my people, go through this and come out of it with music that was fundamental, those spiritual hymns, that sense of community that they tried to build once they were here, that became our new history. And the people that bite off of that history and off of Black culture still today, but still are racist against Black African Americans, people of African ancestry, still racist against them while they're biting off their contributions. That's probably another video. I'm getting upset because I saw that guy with the metal around his neck, and I'm about losing it. To look at a human being, you obviously, well, they thought our brains were smaller, and that, like I said, heathens, and they need to find Jesus, because that's the only way that they'll be at all, they can be a house slave. Still can't read. Still don't have, you still have no, like, rights of permission to do whatever. You need permission to do whatever. There's so many things about this, the history of slavery, for them to try and whitewash it and make it like it was not bad is so, I want to slap somebody kind of incentive. It's so ridiculous. It is part of the history of this country. And if you refuse to acknowledge it, you're gonna repeat it. And guess what is happening?
Did you hear that Trump pulled out a racist trope from the era of American slavery when talking about undocumented workers? Yeah, he was being interviewed on CNBC when he said this about people from Central and South America working on American farms.
These people do it naturally. They don't get a bad back because if they get a bad back, they die.
These people do it naturally. That's precisely what slaveholders said about enslaved African Americans to justify slavery. They claimed the natural place of African Americans in the world was to be enslaved because they naturally had lower intelligence and naturally had bodies that could withstand hard labor, long hours, infectious diseases, and extreme heat. Or as Trump put it, they could be worked almost to death and, quote, they don't get a bad back. According to enslavers, Black people occupied a position in the natural order that was a notch or two above livestock, but well below the status of white people. That's clearly how Trump sees the largely Latino workforce laboring on American farms. But Trump wasn't done with the racism. He made it clear that in his ideal world, Black Americans would be the ones laboring in those fields. But alas.
You know, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it.
There you have it. Those inner city Black people should be doing the farm labor. But according to Trump, they're just too lazy. As he put it, we, white people, have tried everything, but they, Black people, refuse to work. So much racism in just a few sentences. And the eggs, still expensive.
Okay, 3 things about that. as a black woman, I have personally experienced where in the medical field, my thoughts in regard to my body and my health are discounted. It's where they think that, okay, I'm gonna have to pause this. I'm gonna have to cut this out because I need to plug in my computer. All right, I need to switch positions because my computer's dying. Okay, so where my opinion about my health was discounted and they would not listen to me. And so it took me years to get a diagnosis. Now this was years back, but I had to learn to advocate for myself even more. I even had someone was, for example, bit by a tick. I told the doctor, I was bit by a tick. Could this be why I'm not feeling well? I felt really bad. I had the tick in the back. He said, oh no, it's just a flu, it's going around. It's fine. Went away with my family. I did not think I was gonna make it back. Got back, went to the emergency room. They admitted me. Did I have the bag with the tick still in it? No. Did they think I had Rocky Mountain fever? Or whatever it's called, Rocky Mountain sun from the tick? Yes. I could easily have died. I have worked at jobs where I have done 4 times the amount of work. When he talks about black people being like lazy, they won't work, inner city people. I worked 3 or 4 times as hard as people that were blonde, blue eyes, or Hispanic when my supervisor was Hispanic. And I would see them literally not doing their job. Then when the supervisor comes in, the regional or whatever, they jump to it and they got rewards. I've experienced that. So I know what they're talking about is bull. S-H-I-T. I know it is. There's bad people in every race. There's bad people, whatever sex you are. There is bad people and there are good people. It is not dictated by race. There are people that I'm like, what the heck is going on with this person? Why are they like that? That look like me, that I'm like, I want to say evil incarnate. So stop doing that. Stop making generalizations about whether or not people want to work hard, because guess what? In some of most of these social programs, it is not the black citizen that is taking advantage of most of these social programs. Even though they want to say welfare mama or they want to say all of these things, guess what? It is not. And a lot of the states where their citizens are getting the benefit of these social programs, they're red states, and guess what? Their citizens are mostly Caucasian. So stop stereotyping. It's absolutely ridiculous. And don't use the excuse that black people do not want to work, because guess what? There's people that are 30 years old, 40 years old, that are white, that are Hispanic, that are Asian, that live with their parents and are not working. They're in the basement, whatever, they got their room, whatever. So stop stereotyping.
Trump is going to bring back slavery. Hear me out. So I kept asking the question, why would Trump make government contracts with prison companies to build large facilities to hold all these immigrants that he's planning on arresting if he was planning on deporting them? And then I had an epiphany. Slavery technically is illegal in America unless you're incarcerated. You can look up our amendments. Slavery is illegal unless you're incarcerated. This is why some of the states have already started to put legislation forward that if you're arrested for being an illegal immigrant, they can hold you for an indefinite amount of time. This creates a labor force for the country that's almost free. So he's going to take the workers that were already in the population, take them out of the population, and put them back to work for even less money. Just to be clear, I have no proof of this. This is just my hypothesis. I really hope that that's not the case, but that makes the most sense. Why else would you need to build so many housing facilities for prisoners if you were planning on deporting them all? And also, our government knows who picks all of our fruits and vegetables. They know who builds our roads. It's not legal citizens. The majority of them are not legal citizens. White people aren't sitting in the fields getting strawberries and grapes. It's just not the case. You know, I knew they were rolling back years of progress, but I really didn't think we were going to go back to slavery. Trump is going to bring back slavery.
So, when they're talking about people being lazy, he's white. And he's saying that white people are not in the fields picking. I know that they think that, or they thought, or they still think that African Americans are built for it. They have melanin. So, that's my third point that I meant to make earlier. They have melanin, so being out in the sun's not going to affect them. Guess what? I burn. I burn. I flake after I burn. And I have melanin. We burn too. So, take that away. But going back to these facilities, because it's not only these Alcatrazes that they're doing cement buildings, and they're setting them up to house these people that are being rounded up. And guess what? It's not just going to be immigrants. Once they've got their groove on, they figured it out, they're going to start grabbing other people. And that's not enough to madden people. There are people upset about the immigration and they're going to the streets. They are fighting it. And I've said that it needs to be, more so than anyone, it needs to, the people that look like they're Scandinavian, blonde, blue-eyed, white people need to be in these front lines. And seeing somebody that actually looks like them being targeted like this, I know they'll say, oh, they're libtards or whatever, and they they're traitors. But the thing about it is that there are people that are right-leaning that are starting to be upset about this, and they should be, understandably. They should be. More people should be. The fact that some people are acting like this is not happening, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
In 1865. In one southern county, it came back in the 1900s. And it was so brutal, Congress called it worse than before emancipation. Let's talk about peonage, the slavery they don't put in school books. In Alabama, between 1901 and the 1940s, local sheriffs and landowners conspired to arrest black men on false charges, things like changing jobs without permission, talking back, or just existing without a white witness. They were fined, but if they couldn't pay, they were leased to landowners to work off their debt with no time limit. They were beaten, starved, chained at night. If they ran, they were hunted. If they resisted, they were killed. It wasn't just Alabama. This happened across the deep South, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana. In one investigation, a man named Green Cottonham was arrested for vagrancy and sent to work in coal mines. He died within a year. His story helped spark a federal probe, but no one was convicted. Not one landowner, not one sheriff. This was slavery, brought back with paperwork. They didn't break the system. They redesigned it. Follow for more buried truths below the Mason-Dixon and tag someone who thinks the 13th ended it all. Slavery didn't end, it...
Let that all sink in. Let that all sink in.
$1865.
They can take.
So, what do you think about that? What do you think? There's so many people talking about this. So, not enough people are, but there are so many people talking about this. And the fact that if it was up to him and his administration, the people that like follow him, that have like dreamed of this moment when people that are black and brown can be treated lesser than. Remember, we were 1/16th of a human being. That's what we were considered. So, knowing that they want to bring something like this back needs to be shouted from the hilltops and fought in every stinking way possible, because there is no middle ground on this. If you say nothing, you're complicit. If you like this video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys, I am having a blast doing these videos. I've just started, but I do want to keep growing. I would really, 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 really appreciate your support, because I'd like to do this more. So thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Responsibility for the people that they hire.